For millennia, we looked up, and we fell in love with a lie. To the ancients, she was the morning star, a beacon of beauty, the goddess of love. From the safety of Earth, she appears serene, a brilliant jewel hanging in the velvet silence of the cosmos. But distance is a form of blindness. If you were to stand upon her surface today, you would not find love. You would find an apocalypse. You would be crushed by an atmosphere 90 times heavier than our own. You would be incinerated by heat that melts lead. You would be dissolved by rain, made of sulfuric acid. This is not a goddess. This is hell. For centuries, our telescopes lied to us. When astronomers first turned their glass eyes toward our twin, they saw nothing but a blank white sphere, a perfect mystery. And because we are human, we filled that void with our own dreams. We imagined lush rainforests beneath those clouds. We pictured dinosaurs, vast oceans, a sister civilization waiting to greet us. We assumed that because she was the same size as Earth and made of the same stardust, she must be like Earth. But the clouds were not hiding a paradise. They were hiding a prison. Those clouds are a suffocating blanket of carbon dioxide. Kilometers thick, they trap the sun's heat with ruthless efficiency. They turned a potential Eden into a runaway furnace. We were looking at a mirror, but the reflection was burning. How do you map a world you cannot see? Light cannot penetrate that veil. So, we had to scream at the planet and listen for the echo. In the late 20th century, the Magellan spacecraft arrived. It did not use cameras, it used synthetic aperture radar. It fired pulses of radio waves down through the acid fog. It waited for them to bounce off the rock and return. By measuring the silence between the scream and the echo, we painted the invisible. What we found was a scarred volcanic wasteland. Thousands of ancient volcanoes, vast plains of solidified lava, no oceans, no ruins, just a silent, monochrome graveyard. But radar is cold. Radar is distant. To truly understand the horror of this place, we had to go down there. We had to send machines to die. While the Americans were aiming for the moon, the Soviets set their sights on hell. The Venera program. It stands as one of the most audacious and tragic chapters in the history of exploration. They knew they were not sending explorers, they were sending sacrifices. The early probes didn't even stand a chance. Some were crushed by the atmosphere before they could even signal arrival. Others melted into silence the moment they touched the ground. But the engineers were relentless. They learned from every death. They built their machines stronger, heavier. They built tanks and threw them into the sky. They weren't trying to conquer Venus. They were just trying to survive her for a few precious minutes. Imagine the descent. You begin in the cold vacuum of space. Silence. Then you hit the upper atmosphere. The friction turns your heat shield into a fireball. You are falling at hypersonic speeds. Then the parachutes deploy. But here the air is not air. It is a thick, toxic soup. As you sink lower, the sky shifts colors, from the black of space to a blinding white, and finally into a deep, oppressive orange gloom. The pressure begins to mount. It pushes against the hull like a mechanical vice. The temperature climbs past 400 degrees Celsius. You are no longer falling through a sky. You are sinking to the bottom of a pressurized ocean of gas. March 1st, 1982. Venera 13. Against all odds, it lands. And it survives. For 127 minutes, this collection of titanium and glass held back the crushing weight of a world that wanted it dead. It did what no human could ever do. It opened its eyes, it tasted the air, and it sent back the signals we had waited centuries to see. And then, the heat won. The electronics fried. The signal died. The lander became a silent monument, a metallic corpse resting on a world where nothing breathes. But in those dying moments, it sent us a gift. A photograph. The only true glimpse of the alien. This is what it saw. No CGI, no artistic interpretation. This is the raw data of a dying world. Look closely at the horizon. You see the sharp, jagged rocks that is not erosion by water or wind. That is the raw, fractured crust of a planet that never heals. And look at the light. Everything is bathed in a sickly sepia haze. The atmosphere is so thick that it scatters all blue light long before it reaches the ground. If you stood there, you would never see the sun. You would only see a glowing, featureless ceiling, trapping you in a perpetual toxic twilight. See that strip of colors on the lander? That is a calibration tool. It tells us that the rocks are actually gray, but the Venusian sky paints everything in the color of rust. Why does this matter? Why look at these ugly broken rocks? Because Venus is Earth's twin. Same size, same gravity, made of the same materials. Once, billions of years ago. She might have had oceans. She might have been blue, but something broke. A runaway greenhouse effect. The carbon dioxide took control. The oceans boiled away. The planet suffocated itself. Venus is not just a neighbor. She is a ghost of what could have been, and perhaps a premonition of what could be. Today, the Venera landers are still there, but they are no longer machines. The extreme heat and pressure have likely fused their metals. The lenses have melted. The hulls have collapsed. They have been reclaimed by entropy. They are part of the geology now. They sit in the silence, waiting for explorers that may never come. They are the only evidence that humanity ever touched this forbidden world. When you look at Venus, do not just see a planet, see a warning. We live on a fragile oasis in a hostile universe. We assume our blue sky is a guarantee. We assume our oceans are eternal. But Venus whispers the truth across the vacuum. Habitability is a privilege, and it is easily lost.